Hello everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm one of the science kids. Today, we're starting a new series on our channel called Weird Math. The purpose of this series is to describe weird mathematical concepts and conjectures that make absolutely no sense. We're starting off this series with a really weird one, and unlike some of the future episodes of this series, this one is absolutely 100% true. Mathematicians know this is true, but it goes against our basic understanding of math. And today's episode is on 0 factorial equals 1. But first, what even is factorial? Mathematically speaking, when you take the factorial of a number, you're multiplying that number to every natural number that comes before it. So for example, 4 factorial would be 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And 6 factorial would be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, that being said, what would 0 factorial be? Would it even work in practice since factorials only go to 1? Well, there are 2 ways to figure it out. There's the mathematical way, and there's the conceptual way. Let's start with the mathematical way. Let's take 5 factorial. Alright, that makes sense. 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But what if you divide the factorial by the number you're taking the factorial of? That would be 5 factorial divided by 5. Let's see. Well, these 5's can cancel out with each other, which means we're just left with this. Does that look familiar? That's 4 factorial. Let's try the same thing with 4 factorial now. Okay, that's correct. 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But now let's divide it by the number we're taking the factorial of, 4. Well, the 4's can cancel out, and now we're just left with this. That's 3 factorial. Do you see the pattern now? This pattern works for every number. As you can see by this formula, if you take the factorial of a number and divide it by that number, then you'll get that number minus 1 factorial. Let's use that formula to continue the pattern all the way to 0 factorial and see what happens. Alright, as you can see, we continued the pattern. For 3 factorial, we divided it by 3, which cancelled out the 3's, and we were left with 2 times 1, which is 2 factorial. We did the same for 2 factorial, divided it by 2, and we got 1 factorial. Alright, now that we're at 1 factorial, let's continue the pattern. We know that 0 factorial would be 1 factorial divided by 1. What is 1 factorial? Well, we determined it last time. 1 factorial is 1, which means that 0 factorial is just 1 divided by 1, which is 1. What is that about? Okay, you're still probably a little bit confused by that. How is that even possible? Doesn't that go against the very definition of a factorial? Should that even be possible? Well, to confirm this, let's think about this conceptually. In order to understand this conceptually, we need to understand what factorials are used for. Factorials are used in statistics to measure how many different ways you can arrange a certain set of things. Let's say we have 3 shapes: a square, a triangle, and a star. How many ways can you arrange these? Let's say that we have 3 slots over here, and these shapes can be put each into one of these slots to create one of those orders. How many shapes could you put in the first slot? Well, we have 3 options, so we could put 3 shapes. Well, let's say that we took the square to put in this slot. Well, we used up one of the shapes, so for the second slot, we have 2 options. Now, let's say for this slot, we use the star. Now we have only 1 option, the triangle, for the last slot. Now, if we multiply these together, this is the different amount of ways that you can arrange these 3 shapes. Actually, let's prove it. Let's see how many ways you can arrange these 3 shapes. These are the different ways that you can arrange a square, a triangle, and a star. Let's see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if you did the math earlier, 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. And that is what factorials are used for. Alright, for the first slot, we can either put the square or the star, which means we have two options. And for the last option, let's say you use the star for the first one. Well, now you have only one option, the square. If you multiply them together, 2 times 1, you get 2, which means there are two different ways that you can arrange a star and a square. Now, I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to this, but let's just check it out to make sure. Yep, two different ways you can arrange a square and a star. Alright, now you're thinking, okay, I don't like squares. The only shape I like is star. Well, you have one slot for one shape. You have only one option for the slot. 1 factorial is 1. No shock. Oh, and by the way, we already drew the amount of different ways that you can arrange one star. Alright, now in hindsight, you don't like shapes. Shapes are dumb. How many different ways can you arrange 0 shapes? There's only one way, which means 0 factorial is equal to 1. We hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to us over here and check out one of our other videos over here. Check out our social media pages in the description. And as always, science is everywhere and in everything. Bye!